My name is Monk Rowe, and we are in West Orange, New Jersey, filming for the Jazz Archive at Hamilton College. I'm very pleased to have Bernard Purdie here with me today. Thanks for driving and meeting with me.
My plasma.
Good. You know, I've met some versatile musicians doing this project, but you go from Louis Armstrong to James Brown. I think that covers a lot of turf.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Was there a point as a young man where you made a conscious decision to be a musician, or did it just kind of evolve?
As a young man, my decision to be a musician was done as a baby.
Really?
Yeah. I was actually playing drums at my 10 pots, my mother and father, as they say, the pots and pans at 3.
No kidding.
I got my toy set at 6. And it was just on from there because my teacher happened to be the drummer for the big band in Elkton, Maryland, and which is Cecil County, the school system. Mm-hmm. And he was a drummer, and I wanted to be like him. But he was also a teacher. Now that's the one thing I didn't want to be. Whoa, was I so wrong?
Really?
Yeah, he told me that I was going to be a teacher. And I told him I do not wish that on anyone.
Because you saw him in a school system type of teacher,
Mm-hmm.
or it was a private teacher, or both?
Well, I was both, actually, for me. But being a teacher, he said the same things all the time. I mean, you couldn't get around it. He said it day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. And I said, well, how do you grow? I mean, I don't understand. Why would you want to be a teacher when they're not listening? That was my whole thing.
I see.
I always said, they're not listening. Well, I was wrong, of course. But it's the one time that I can really, truly say that I'm sorry that I was wrong. And I can admit that I was wrong. Mm-hmm. Once.
Just once. Oh, we got a pretty good track record.
Well, that's been my biggest problem.
Uh-huh.
That's been the biggest problem in the world for me. Coming up in the business, I was never wrong. And people took that as a very bad attitude.
Like they felt you were arrogant or something?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
To one degree, yes, I was. But all that arrogance and stuff that I had, I really grew out of it. But the point is that people didn't see that. They just knew that no matter what I said, I believed in everything that I said. And it was always true. The truth always hurts. But the truth is something that's easy to come by. And it's something that you remember for life. The things that you have to make up gets distorted. And before you know it, you lose your whole thought. What was I talking about? Wow, what did I just do? You know, you go away from what the truth is, and what you fabricated dies. Oh yeah. The truth is something that will always be there because it's in your subconscious. And whether you read it, whether you were involved with it, or whether you were part of it, it does come out. You can recall anything. Your mind and your memory is remarkable. All you have to do is to go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. And before you know it, you're talking about what you lived and what you've been part of. And it's scary. And I mean really scary, because there was a lot of people out there that didn't believe all the things I had done. Because it's easy. It's easy for me to remember, to go back to, because I lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, oh boy, oh boy, which has become part of the fun of writing of my book.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
All the good things.
Yeah.
The bad things you really want to forget. And you really do try very hard to forget. But at the same time, they're there.
Yeah.
And if you don't go through them and doing, like, real biography and things like that, you don't get the hurt out.
Do you think that your memory of the bad things, and I suppose the good things, are different at all from the other people that were involved? And do you need to speak to them if you're writing a book about how those things went down?
Well, let me put it to you this way. In some incidents, I would say, yes, you do need those kind of things. But I also found out that, no, I really don't. I don't need to go back to ask them about what I had done, or do they remember what I did, or whatever the circumstances were. The hurt is already there, just remembering.
I see.
But it also cleanses you when you get it out. And I do feel very good about all the things that have happened to me. All the ups and downs that we go through, that I've been through in the industry, it really hurts because I lost a lot of friends that I thought were friends and find out that they were associates. Big difference. But you don't know this as you're coming along because you think they're friends. And when somebody is working with you or against you, not a friend. Working with you is one thing. Working against you or working for themselves is a whole nother ballgame.
The times that those people that you thought were friends turned out not to be, was it usually a money issue or a power issue, or can you pin it down?
Well, for me, I'd say 95% of the time, it was a power issue. It wasn't even the money. Money makes power.
Mm-hmm.
But people who have money are really not interested and worried about making more money. They are interested in the power and what it does for them. And I got hurt a few times, man, because of the power. I really, truly did. But at the same time, it was a major lesson for me that brought me through the business world. Because every time something happens, good, bad, or indifferent, I could grab it and hold on to it. And it makes all the difference in the world when you can go back to it and relate to it and just make yourself better.
Learn from it, yeah.
Even if it hurts you, to stop somebody else from falling into that trap. Yeah.
That's really
So,
interesting.
But I had good teachers. See, that makes the difference.
Mhm.
It's the teachers who give you the body, the instincts and the things like that, that you don't have to be bitter and you don't have to be bad because it happened to you. You can actually make it comfortable for somebody else, and in the long run, it'll make it better for you. It makes you a better person.
Who were the teachers that you would credit?
Well, my biggest teacher was Leonard Haywood. That was my first teacher, and he was my music teacher, my drum teacher. He was the band director for the school, and my mentor.
Last name was Haven?
Haywood.
Haywood, okay.
Leonard Haywood. When I lost him, he moved to, what his wife said, moved to Phoenix, Arizona, for his health. Well, I have no idea if that was true or not. As far as I'm concerned, it was, because she said it. But as time and the years go by, it makes you wonder, did they split up?
Mm-hmm.
He was an alcoholic, but of course, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
They said he had a breathing problem. Okay, Arizona was the dry place. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I had the whole spiel.
Right.
It was all given to me.
Yeah.
And I believed it. Totally believed it. I had never thought anything different.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no reason to think that anything was different. Until 20, 30 years later, when you start asking, and you start asking, and then things change on you. You start hearing all kinds of stories, but who knows why?
Mm-hmm.
I was not that inquisitive to that point to want to know why they broke up, why they separated, why they divorced, whatever they did. I still have no idea.
Okay.
He was my mentor. He was my teacher. I loved him. And what I wanted to do was dedicate my book, my first book, and anything else that I could do over the course of the years to him because of what he did for me.
That's nice.
And still, it will happen. And I'll just keep on doing it.
Yeah. Did someone step in to kind of fill that void for you when he left? Another teacher?
Well, actually, it was more than that. Not one, not someone, but many.
Mm-hmm.
I end up having many teachers because I looked at it that all my teachers in school, well, not all, 90% of my teachers in school, I loved them. And they all were on my case. Now, I thought that they were on my case for different reasons, until you find out that every one of them was there to help me. And they did help me, because I could go back and relate to it,
Mm-hmm.
what they said. And then when other people, as the years went on, would say, wow, man, that must have been a great lesson for you. And then it was like, huh? Oh, yes, oh my God. They were helping me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of a sudden, the light just shone that how many people were helping me over the course of the years. And it was amazing. There was always somebody
Yeah.
helping me. So I had to go back to find out why. And for me, it was like, you really are a nice guy. You're a pain in the neck, but you are a nice guy. And it was like, okay, I can deal with this. Yes, I know, I'm realizing, yes, I'm a pain in the neck, but I never meant to harm anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was always trying to do the job. And it was always the job first, because that's what I was taught. You do the job, then you have your fun. But why not do your job and have fun with it?
Uh-huh.
That was my motto. Why can't I do both at the same time? And nobody said that you couldn't. He said, but you must learn to watch your mouth. You got a mouth problem.
Oh.
You know, I had a very, very bad mouth problem of not not bad words and things like that. I mean, no, not profanity.
I see.
I just had big mouth. I would jump in and stop other people from saying something and voice my opinion.
Okay. You had very strong opinions,
Oh,
too.
very strong opinion. All the time. I mean, no ifs, ands, or
I
buts.
see.
I had very strong opinions. And that was my problem. My opinions were always strong, but I was always right. Now, I mean, no matter how I look at it over all the years, if I practiced what I preached all the time, it would be wonderful. But I didn't always practice what I preached.
I see.
But believe me, I had very, very strong opinions.
Well, obviously, at some point, you must have butted heads with people who were much like yourself at the time, who also had strong opinions, and
I butted heads with a lot of them.
Uh-huh.
And the reason why I'm still here today is that I didn't know how strong my opinions were or how much I didn't know. My naiveness is why I'm alive today and here. I mean, yeah, I had strong opinions, but I was very, very naive in my bad parts or the negative parts. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was like, I didn't mean any harm in what I was saying. But I'm telling you that what you're talking about, music-wise, that's what it should have been. And my strongest opinion was always in the music and the music business.
And you carry a lot of, as a drummer, you carry a lot of weight as to how things can end up.
Yes.
And were the times when you were, let's say, butting heads with people, was it oftentimes about the role of the drums and what you think you should play and what the leader or whoever you were, the singer, whatever? Was that sometimes the conflict?
Very seldom.
No kidding.
No. The conflict was where the music was going, how the music was being played, the audience that you're playing the music to, the concept of what the music was. I was so into the business world that sometimes I lost sight of what I was doing. Mm-hmm. But I never lost sight of where I thought the music should be and how to make hit records, because I was with the buying public. I still bought records. I still liked the stars. I was able to pick out the hits because I enjoyed the music. Mm-hmm. So I had what most people call an insight because I listened to everybody. I listened to what people had to say, and then I'd make my opinions about it. But I also made it work musically and commercially. I was taught how to be a commercial salesperson early in life. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't know that that wasn't the way everybody else was doing things. You had a lot of people who just strictly was about the music. This is technically right. Okay, fine. Yeah, I know that note, you can play anything. If it sounds good, it ain't wrong. And I was taught that early. And people said, no. Sometimes, it's all about the voicing. It's all about, how to make these chords go together and these notes and stuff like that. I said, yeah, that's all good and fine. But does it feel good? Does it sound good? All right, the bass player made a mistake. That doesn't stop the record from being good. Uh-huh. So you want to be perfect? Is that what you're saying? And I would be the first one to say, I'm sorry. I can give you 100 records where there's a mistake. It's a hit record. Yeah. So I was never super technical. All my life, I was told that the music should feel good. It should sound good. And it should be good. And that was my thing of how I was brought up. If you can't pat your foot, something is wrong. Can't snap your fingers, something is wrong. If you can't move your body, something is wrong. And that, to me, nothing technical about that. Mm-hmm. That is all about the love of the music. That's all about the love of the song. And it's about things moving.
It sounds like you had the instincts to be a producer and not just a drummer.
Exactly. And that's what I was doing, and I didn't know it. And that's where my mouth got me into trouble. And that's why I'm talking about being a big mouth. I would be the first one to jump up and tell the arranger and the producer and the writer that you're wrong. And the part that hurt the most is that I was always right. They did not like it, and I can't blame them. I mean, it took me years to understand that, but the point is that I just had this instinct. And I had it all my life. Make things work. Just make it work. Always thinking about making it work, putting things together. I could always put things together. I could always put people together. I could always put places together. I was a natural leader, but I was a great follower. And that's what you had to be. That's what I was taught. In order to be a good leader, you must be a great follower. Because unless the people know where you're going or where they're going, they're not going to follow you for you to be a leader. You have to learn something about being a follower. So I had great teachers, and they showed me all those things as I was coming along. So I knew that I was a great follower. I didn't know I was a great leader. Oh, it took a long time for me to know and to understand that. And then, of course, my ego got in the way in the early parts of my life, in the 20s. Because all of a sudden, I'm doing all of this work, recording, and people are coming to me and want me to be, on the date. And I always spoke up. I've never not spoken. Oh, no. And one of the people that we talked about earlier, Bucky Pizzarelli, he was one of the first ones. He would sit over there and look at me and just say, "Go on, Purdie. Go on, Purdie." And we just grooved. We instantly hit it off the first time that we were doing demos.
Rock and roll type demos,
Yes.
R&B things?
Yeah. We were doing that, and he was with that guitar, and his body, his head, shoulders was happening. Wasn't all about his body, but the foot was going, but it was just here. Woo! And that hand, I could, I didn't have to look at his hand. I could see it. I could feel it. I could close my eye and see him playing all the parts because I knew music. I didn't have any problem there. But woo, hit me deep, go right to the soul, no matter what he played. And rhythm was the first thing that he would play, no matter what kind of melody that anybody wanted. He played rhythm first and then sneak the melody in. But it was something else. I mean, that to me is how you put folks together. You know, you lock folks in. Guitar, bass, piano. The drummer, if he's got the bass player, which is, of course, for the drummer, is number one. The bass player is number one. Then he has to make a choice between guitar and piano as number two. You don't know which one is going to be number two until they play.
Like Bucky.
Yeah. And the thing is that Bucky's on the date, Bucky becomes number two 99% of the time. I don't care who's on the piano. When Hank Jones was on the piano, I mean, there's nobody can be any finer than him playing the piano and playing chords or playing rhythm or playing melody. But when Bucky and the two of them together, I automatically lock into Bucky with the bass player. And sometimes I ignored the bass player if he wasn't strong enough, because Bucky could carry it. But we always had good, strong bass players around. So, I mean, I really learned about the music itself, of the feel. Yes, I was never super technical. But when I had to be, you talk music. Talk music and you talk shop, whatever it is. I could be on both sides of the fence. That's when I started to learn about what it meant to be a producer. A producer listens. You don't go in, okay, this is it, this is what we're going to do, and you play this and you play that. Oh, no. A good producer walks up and says, hey, okay, let's see what we got. Automatically. Let the rhythm section take you on a journey and find out if this is where you want to go. It really is that simple.
Is it better for a producer not to be one of the players?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The point is that a good producer is something that he hears everything and only speaks when he needs to and takes control when he has to. So he doesn't have to worry about bending the rules or it gets out of hand with Bucky saying one thing, George Duvivier saying something else, and Bernard Purdie saying something else. No. If we're not locked in, it's his job to stop it. Let's try it a different way. If he happens to be a player also, he knows. He is supposed to know what's going to work and what's going to work for him and lock in to make this music happen. That's his job. Number one job.
And normally, a producer will have, or maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but would a producer have been the person responsible for having those, let's say, 4 individuals in that rhythm section there? Because he anticipates that they're going to work well together.
Exactly. Because they're in tune with one another. He's got to look at who's going to be in tune with one another. Now, as big as my mouth, yes, I know I had the biggest mouth going. The one thing that I never stopped doing is locking in to the rhythm section. I don't care which one I had. I don't care which kind of groove it was. Because for me, as I was taught, music is music. Music is color. Music is sound. Music is all these things. But you got to know what idiom that you're playing in. Jazz, blues, rock, R&B, funk, Latin. Doesn't matter. You need to be able to play in all of them. And that means being able to read the notes. But in reading the notes, you interpret the notes. That's what reading is to me. That's how I learned, and that's what my teacher did. Interpreting the music, the notes.
Some of the students that may watch this may have no idea what a record session is actually like. Is it possible for you to just describe it from that first phone call that you get to show up at this particular date and what that process is like? I know you've done so many in so many fields, but what is a typical recording session like?
Okay, in order to do this, you really need to know who the producer is. The producer himself or herself, whichever, is the one person who knows what the end result is supposed to sound like. Not the arranger. The arranger only gets a certain amount, but it's the producer who is out with the artist, that's with the writer, that formulates what this song is going to be about. Not what it's going to be like, what it's going to be about first. So you have to have that, the first thing. And after you do this, then you go into a rehearsal. Go to where it's a keyboard or a guitar or something and find out what the hook is. The hook is going to suggest who you're going to have in the band. Oh, yes. Because it's the hook that's going to be part of the sound. And that sound can be a guitar sound, it can be a piano, it can be a synthesizer, it can be just a sound, a harmonica, it could be a vocal sound, it could be something, but it's a hook that's going to grab you, that's going to make folks want to like and to listen and to play this song over and over and over again. That's first. And then he goes to call the people that he wants on the session. Now, years and years ago, 50s and 60s, you had everybody in the studio at once. Mm-hmm. So that meant that not only did the producer kind of know, but the arranger now kind of knows what this is going to be like in the end because of all this music that's being written out. Well, hit records were not made easy at that time because hit records at that time, when you had everybody in, could easily be rewritten on the recording day. Mm-hmm. That's what happened. Something happened within the rhythm section. 95% of the time. Something happened within the rhythm section, which meant guitar, bass, drums, piano. And then coming back and going back where the 60s were, you usually had only one drummer, one bass player, but you had 3 guitar players, 1 keyboard, maybe 2. It varied. Then you have horns, strings, background singers.
Which usually came later, or were they?
Oh, no.
They were all there.
This was all done
Wow.
at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
This was all done because we're now dealing with 2 and 4 track, 2-track and 4-track. But that's you're dealing with the early stages, the stuff that none of the young people today would know or understand because they didn't have to do it that way. They've never known anything like that.
Right.
So going that way, what happened is that something happened within the rhythm section or a sound happened while you're in there. Now, remember now, you already have this hook that you're looking at,
Mm-hmm.
as what you think is going to be the selling point. Now that hook has to be now done and laid out. So that hook is going to be in. Now whether that hook is a 2-bar phrase, a 4-bar interlude, or something that you're going to go back to, back and forth within the song, we don't know. Nobody knows. But that is what they're selling. That's their selling point for the song. So you get into the studio, you got this rhythm section going, and you start to create this sound. Something happens. And you got these 3 guitars. One is playing backbeat, chank, chank, and you got rhythm, chanking, 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 chanking. And then you got the other one might be, well, twang. It might be a thing with Vinnie
Vibrato or
Bell,
something.
Vinnie Bell sound, water sound,
Oh, yeah.
or a fish, or a tree, or whistle, He had all kinds of little sound effects that he did. And this started to become part of the sound to go with the hook of what is happening, the thing that's going to be repeated over and over and over again. Well, that's how things start to happen. Now, for me, I was one of the lucky people. When I was coming along, I never believed that the drummer had to be in the background. Drummer did not have to be in the background. Now, Gene Krupa helped us. Gene Krupa was one of the first persons to bring us out front so people could, the drums.
Uh-huh.
So I always felt that way because that's how I was taught when I was coming along. Yes, I was taught to play, keep my time, but I was also trying to make the drums outstanding, to be remembered. And that's how things got with me, which is also why I had some problems with some of the music that was going down. And I was calling it old-fashioned. At that particular time, people like Bucky and Vinnie Bell and other folks, Bob Bushnell, who actually played the Fender bass, not the upright, just the upright sound, was coming into play. And it happened to come into what I liked, the kind of things that I did and something that I heard. So it was like, wow, this is phenomenal. I'm not the only one that's hearing things, new things, different things. You don't have to play ting, tinky, ting, kinky, ting, kinky, ting. You can play ting, 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 play it straight. Or you can play ting, 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 and really play it straight and come out with something that was a little different than ting, kinky, ting, kinky, ting, kinky, ting. So, ooh, I like this. But still, remembering what we were in there for, from what the producer wanted, the sound that the producer wanted to make this thing happen. I said, okay, all right, let's go with this. We try something, and the producer, you see the people, the horn players and the string players, they got lines and stuff that's going on, that was happening, and then we would ask, well, mainly I would ask, if the string players and the horn players don't play for a minute. Give us 5 minutes to see if this rhythm is going to fit. And maybe, just maybe, the arranger might change the rhythms of what he wrote. Still get his figures, but change the rhythm slightly to make it go a little different than with the dotted feel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was me a lot. That was part of my mouth situation. Well, they'd give us 5 minutes. We'd never get more than that because time is money.
Yeah.
We would try some of these things, and sure enough, these kind of things would happen. You know, your body started doing this, and the arranger, especially if he's a smart one, a really, really good one, he starts, and he says, oh, okay. So you don't want to go with the dotted, okay? Let's kind of play this a little bit more straight, you know? But he could tell the musicians how to play what he wanted. It was his job.
So you're talking about transitioning the music really from more of a swing thing into straight eighth notes.
Yeah.
This might be a hard question, but can you remember any particular sessions, particular songs where this kind of thing happened?
Sure. Mickey and Sylvia.
Oh, with Love is Strange?
Love is Strange.
Yeah.
One of the their first record, the first one that they did in the early 50s was mostly all swing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was re-recorded in 61. I re-recorded it and brought it with a different sound. Almost straight. If you hear the record that's being played all these years, in the last 40 years, it's been their record of the straight time.
Uh-huh.
Not the one that was the shuffle,
Right.
but more of the straight time. Strings and all. The sound that they had with her moaning and doing 2 or 3 different sounds, having the background singers just follow her and not do things on their own. Made all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one that's been played for over 40 years, that particular record. So I've been very pleased about things like that. Just One Look was my biggest record.
Doris Troy?
Yeah.
I love that record.
It was a straight, you know? I mean, we had no strings and horns and stuff like that. We had background singers. And I came in because they couldn't find another drummer. They went around looking. This was a demo.
I see.
But those are the way things were happening and they were going on. So I got a chance to speak about what I was doing, what I would like to do, and that was happening. And they allowed me to do it. So with all those years of running off at the mouth and all of a sudden records becoming hits, I got a reputation. So people gave me the benefit of the doubt of things that I was doing. I was doing something different. Yes, he's got a big mouth, but we're making hit records.
So you could put up with it.
We'll put up with it. When the date was over, it was over.
Uh-huh.
They didn't have to deal with me. They weren't going home with me. They knew this. I mean, it was a business to them. But I didn't know. I didn't know that I was even alienating people against me.
Okay.
I mean, I was even doing that because, yeah, I got a little arrogant with it after a while. But my arrogance was not like, I didn't know what I was talking about. I was just happy. I was just a kid.
Yeah.
I'm coming from nothing to coming to a big time. So that's where my arrogance, you know, when it really happened to hit me, I started to make some money. I mean, I was coming home from that $125 a week that I made for all of my work that I was doing, you know, to making $125 a day.
This was
In the
in
60s.
the 60s.
Yeah.
So you would make how much per, like a demo session or something? It'd be
$10 a side.
$10 a side. And how long would that usually take to do one of those?
You did it an hour.
Uh-huh. These are in studios in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before you knew it, I was walking home, like I said, with $100, $150 a day
Mm-hmm.
going home. Not a week. And that was big money to me.
How did the session change so that it became that $150 a night? These were record label sessions?
Well, the record label sessions was $42.50 every 3 hours.
Okay.
So if you did 2 or 3 sessions during the course of a day, that's $150, almost $150, because they were supposed to pay health and welfare and pension.
All right.
Well, you find out much, much later in life that they weren't.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's what I'm fighting now. So.
I see.
Oh, it's going to be okay.
Good.
It's going to be okay. It's all in my favor now.
But
we even have documentations now.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
But if one of these sessions turned out a hit record, the guys in the band did not get more money.
No, we never got more money. We got paid for what we did.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought, and every time I would speak up, I was always right when I spoke up. I didn't just jump up and say, no, let's do it this way. I listened to everybody. I listened to everything that went down. And if it wasn't happening, then I had something to say. And they did listen to me. The producer, the arranger, the writers, the artists, they did listen. The musicians resented it
Uh-huh.
because, well, most of the time I didn't do it right. I really didn't.
Your delivery of your...
I had no delivery.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I had no delivery. It was bad.
Okay.
It was really, really bad. I'd stop guys in the no, man, no, it's wrong.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, I can see how they would...
I'm sorry. Then,
Yeah.
then I'm saying I'm sorry. But no, man, it's not like that, man.
It must have hit you like
hit me like a ton.
Your musical barometer, just like something would strike you to be so wrong that you just couldn't resist.
I couldn't. And that it happened all the time. See, that's the thing. I get totally upset.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my body, my hands, and my face said it every time.
Uh-huh.
And when I tried to control it and not say something, I'd be sitting at the drums and my face. I had more, the guys used to tell me I had more facial, God. Purdie.
Watch out, Bernard's got his face on.
We're getting ready to go through this and getting ready, he don't like something, and I tried my best not to say something, but it was all over my face.
Uh-huh.
So the arranger or the producer could, all right, Purdie, what's wrong? I said, oh, God. Well, you asked me. And it was, we really didn't do that section right. There were some mistakes, and the rhythm wasn't the right rhythm that should have been played over here, and this should have been done here, and this here, and this, and I done rearranged the song.
Uh-huh.
And they look at me, and the musicians would, oh, God, damn it, Purdie. And they wouldn't say nothing. They just look at me. They wanted to kill me.
Were you ever responsible for sending sessions into overtime?
Once in a while.
Yeah.
Not often. Because I was one of the first people that told me, no, fella, we got to go. We only got 5 minutes. 5-minute break. We got 10-minute break with it. I was
Okay.
back sitting in my chair,
Yeah.
ready to do. So once in a while, it might be me. And then, if it was me, even the musicians wouldn't mind so much. If we went 5 minutes over, we would not charge them. Or even 10 minutes over. We might not charge them. But if we had the string players and the horn players, they're going to get charged no matter what. Because somebody is going to tell.
I see.
Nobody would, no, I'm not, oh, it's okay. Invariably, every time, somebody would go and tell.
That's very interesting. Do you think there's a different kind of camaraderie with rhythm section players than there is with, I don't know, the players who just come in and they get the music set in front of them, and every note is there that they're supposed to play. There's not as much creative outlet for them. And I think it affects their attitude to the music.
Yes. Yes, it does. And those 90% of the time would be the ones that would turn you in. So we couldn't say that, okay, it was the string players, or it was the horn players. But we know that nobody in the rhythm section did it because we wanted things to be happening. You know? And even if they made a mistake, didn't matter because it didn't affect the rhythm, didn't affect the sound, didn't affect the feel. They could bury part of the sound of that mistake. But when the rhythm was right, everybody else had to go along with the program. And I was right 100% of the time. Not 98, not 99. I was right 100% of the time going along for all those years. When I made a mistake, everybody knew it. Everybody knew it. And everybody would turn and, hey, Purdie! They all got something to say. And I said, okay, all right, that's enough. You know, oh, they knew how to get me back. Everybody did. When I made a mistake, everybody knew I made the mistake. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was just what it was.
In those days, when everybody was there on the session, did that include the singer? Okay, so you really got to hear how what you were playing and what the rhythm section was playing was interacting with the whole thing. Now, years later, when all this is done in sections, is it different because you may not ever hear those horn parts and those string parts?
That's right. So what I had to do was figure out what the arrangement was going to do. This is where my creativity came in. This is how I really became the star of all those recordings and things in the late 60s, 70s. Because I was creating part of the rhythms and the melody and the counter rhythms that was going to be set up for horns and strings and background singers.
Well, how did you get to know where that was going to come in?
Because
did you get
the
to see
singer would be there on the date. They would let them sing as we were running and rehearsing the song down. So I now got part of the melody. I got now the melody. Okay, I see where you want to go. And now it's time for me to take the rhythm section and build the rhythm section around the melody and to become part of, for the singer to be center. And then build all these different kind of rhythms and counter rhythms around it. So yes, I became very intricate a very intricate part of what the song would be. You know, drums became very important. Bass became even more important. Guitars became even more. And of course, the keyboard wasn't just a piano anymore. They got some synthesizers and organs being put on. So, yes, my influence was very, very heavy into what was going on, because then I really learned how to put all this music together. Now I became an arranger. I became writer, arranger, producer. I really became all of those. But yet, I wasn't around when the horns were put on. I wasn't around when the strings were put on. But what we had put down within the realm of the rhythm section laid the foundation for everybody else to sit on the thrones with us. Because then I really was driving the vehicle.
I see. That's very interesting. So oftentimes, you might not hear the final product. You might be in your car driving along, and the first time you hear that song that you played on might be on the car radio.
Yeah. And to give you a good example, one of the best examples in the world is Aretha Franklin. Oh me, oh my, until you come back to me. I mean, I can rock steady, daydreaming, think. I mean, all these things happen after the rhythm section was put down. But I got it from her when she sat down at the piano and played melody and where she wanted things to happen and to go. And I was dictating to everybody. By this time, I mean, I'm hot stuff now, man. You know, this Bernard Purdie, man. And I done got all this stuff now. I mean, I'm good at what I do. People know I'm good at what I do. So I'm going to get the respect of what I say they're going to try. And don't let me have no frown or something on my face. Oh my God, what Purdie don't like it. He's the hit maker. You know, if he don't like it, it ain't right. I mean, I had that kind of reputation. So I had to keep my reputation going. And, you know, as they say, the rest becomes history, because this is what happened. But during those times is when I really started to learn not to holler across the room at the trumpet player. You made a mistake on bar 4, such and such. Oh, my God. Ernie Royal used to want to kill me. And I'm serious. Ernie Royal would want to kill me because he was always on the date, because I had made sure that he was.
Okay.
I mean, I was a contractor then, so I knew who was going to be coming in and such and such. And I used to holler over at him, Ernie, you know you're playing the wrong note. Why don't you play the right note? And bar so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And just like that. I mean, it was really that simple. That's what I used to do. And they look at me and said, pay him no mind. He can't help himself. He just can't help himself. And they did. And when the date was over, we were all out eating together. We were all out doing things together, and such and such and such. But and it was over. It was all over. It wasn't nothing. Nothing was held on. And after the date was over, Ernie might walk up, beep, hit me upside the head. Purdie, leave me alone. I said, all right, Ernie, you know I love you. You know I love you. And never thought anything of it, you know, really. It was over. It was said and done, it was over. I didn't know that certain arrangers and certain producers really resented it.
And did they not start calling you?
They didn't stop calling me, not right away.
Uh-huh.
Not until they found somebody else that could do what I was doing.
Uh-huh.
And that took years. By then, I had a reputation, and somebody else would call me. So I didn't know that I was losing out on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that I was creating a problem with some of my clients. I just didn't. But see, that was also part of my naiveness. I didn't mean any harm in what I was doing because I wanted it right. And I felt responsible. Because 50 to 60% of those sessions, I was the contractor, or I was made the leader.
Mm.
So I just wanted it to be right. Always wanted it to be right. So I didn't think in terms of something being wrong or that I had done something wrong.
Uh-huh. You're just doing your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a job.
Who were the people in the key positions, the bass player and guitar, and even like the tenor sax soloist that you like to see on the date?
King Curtis was the tenor sax soloist. Sam the Man Taylor. David Newman. Marshall Royal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all these guys were all legends to me. And guitar players was Mickey Baker. Eric Gale.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh McCracken. David Spinoza. Vinnie Bell. And Wally Richardson. And I mean these guitar and Bucky Pizzarelli. I mean, for me, I could not have ever asked for anybody any better than those musicians. I mean, there were hundreds that you could go along with the program with and have them on the date, and it would automatically turn out. But you had to know who you put together. It was the people that you put together that liked one another that made things happen. Even when the music was wrong, they wouldn't play it wrong. They just wanted to be, not in the rhythm section.
Uh-huh.
Horns, see the horn section and the string section, until that arranger would want to change it or correct it, they're just going to play it.
They wouldn't say anything if
No.
it sounded off.
And that's what I used to come down on. See, that was the thing that I was hollering across the room. Oh, yeah.
And, okay, so he might have been playing what was on the page,
Yes, he was.
but it wasn't what
Right.
should have been there.
Right.
I see.
And I would tell her, you know you're playing the wrong note. Why don't you just change it? And I was good at that. I was hollering all across the place. I was always hollering across the place.
In your book, you said you're working on a book.
Yeah.
Will it have a discography?
Yeah, we're going to have, I'd say we're probably going to have anywhere of 1,200 to 2,000
Sessions,
records and sessions, different records.
Mm-hmm.
We should have at least that. What the young man is doing now, Ed Dennis. I mean, I had about 400 or 500 that I've always had.
Yeah. Actual LPs.
Yeah,
Okay.
LPs and stuff. Oh man, he's 45s. LPs that I totally forgot. You know,
Yeah.
one-time LPs with people. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that I just didn't remember. And then when I heard this, oh, I know this. Oh, this was so-and-so, so-and-so. I mean, all of a sudden, it just came back to me. or whose it was and whose date it was. And that's what happened during the course of him finding records that he's found from other people that he's been doing on the internet.
What's the state of the music industry today?
The state of the music industry today, the words that I would like to use is not very cool. And one of them starts with an S. It's really that bad. But the big guys have done it to themselves. Greed is what messed up the music industry. When you start making profits of, instead of the single digits making profits, over the course of the years, what caused them to be as big as they are anyhow, and when you're making 400 or 500% in the course of a year, it can mess you totally around. So they just became super giant. And then they start grabbing up everything that they could and not losing anything because there was so much money that they made. Well, the problem was, and is that too many songs are no melodies. The people who write melodies are not around much anymore. They're making sounds. Sounds is what's selling and had been selling in the last 10 to 15 years, not melodies. So, and don't get me wrong now, the rappers have come in and made a name for themselves. But what they did was take from what happened 30, 40 years ago, and they've saturated it now to the point is that people are now tired of hearing the one note, as we used to call one note samba.
Yeah.
Well, one note samba has a melody.
Right, and it breaks into
And
a
it-
bridge that
Thank you.
releases that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the way songs are done today and written, nobody can remember any of them because it's all rhythms. Nobody remembers the words. Yeah, you have a few of the kids who remember the words, but what it is that the record people had made millions and millions and millions of dollars on the rappers. So consequently, it's shrinking because people that were rappers 20, 15 years ago are now adults. So you got adult contemporary, and they want more than that. They can't be that youngster as they were, And then the kids that are growing up with them don't want the parents with their music because they want to be something different. Well, the kids today are not any different than what it was in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. The point is that they're trying to make their own. They have nothing. So they're trying to create something from something that was already done. And it's already happened. So they're having problems. So they're wasting time and money. So they're not making the big bucks, the 200, 300, 400%. All of a sudden, the profit is coming down to double digits. And it's coming down to single digits again. So consequently, the industry is hurting because the people who were making who gobbles the money when they dividends are not getting it. They're making money, but the dividends are smaller. So people want to go where there's bigger, better dividends. I'm sorry, it's just not out there. Until they go back and now start giving people with melodies, that songs stay and linger for 30, 40, 50, 100 years. Why do you think everything is revival?
Yeah.
Look at what happens. Nobody is making money on something new. It's all about revival.
Jazz reissues and all those kinds
Everything.
of things.
The jazz reissues, they made gobbles of money. They didn't have to pay anybody. So people like myself who also made records in the 60s and the 70s, my records took off. Took off. Columbia, Prestige, Flying Dutchman. Those labels are owned by the big guys, and they are making money with them. I finally got paid 20 years later. 20 years later, from 1972, the record that I made on Prestige, 1972, 71 and 72, they started paying me in 94 because I was smart enough to go in and say, I want an audit.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Then all of a sudden, bam, the $4,445 they said I owed them for 20 years got paid. Now, in the 80s, they were making money on my records in the late 80s. Millions. I find this out. I don't get it. But they started making money, and it was like, what is happening? And of course, you see people were calling me for Europe, and they wanted my old records. They wanted my albums. I said, my albums? I said, but I'm making CDs. No, we want your albums. That's when I find out that I'm selling. All of my old stuff is selling. So I started to watch the industry a lot more and a lot closer. As I was going along, I saw what was happening. And I saw how the big guys basically just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until the bubble started to burst. And it was bursting because the people that they had running the companies were not musical people. They were lawyers. Lawyers were running the company by the numbers, the books. How many units did we sell? What did we sell? What did we do? It's all about the selling. It's not about the quality. It's all about the quantity to them. How much is the bottom line? We don't have to pay for this, do we? We got this. And that's what they did. So they flourished for a lot of years. Their last 10 years, they're in serious trouble because they have nothing new. And everything they have new is going by the wayside. They're not selling millions. They might sell 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 units. But the money that they've already spent is not covering because you got so many other people that are coming in and other little companies that are ciphering from them from the bottom because they're not up there in the ivory towers. They're down here. And folks like me who are actually surviving and having a nice survival are actually earning a good living. Decent and good. You don't have to sell 100,000 units to make $10,000 or $20,000.
Right.
And you have to ask yourself, what do you mean? How come you don't? Because you can sell 10,000 units and make $20,000.
Yeah.
What? What? What are you talking about? Yeah.
What's the technology done to?
Technology has hurt them and it's helped them. The only way for them to survive what they're doing today, they're making it on technology. They are actually selling more blank tapes and CDs than they are songs and records and CDs. They're actually selling more blanks. They are making their money selling blanks.
So people can download and store it on.
And they all talk about the download, that they're not getting paid. They're getting paid. They're not getting paid enough as far as they're concerned. So they're still making the money on the blanks. And it's only the big guys who make the blanks. The little guy can't.
Well,
He can't because he can't survive because he's still got to buy from the big guy because they own the plants.
mhm.
So if you're going to buy off the, you know, what they call off the rack,
Yeah.
it's going to cost you. When you buy a blank today, you buy 10 blanks. You buy 50 blanks. You buy 100 blanks. But how much does it cost you? Is it $1 a blank? Is it $2 a blank? Is it 50 cents a blank? It all depends on how many you're going to make and how many you're going to sell. How long is it going to take to sell them? So the big guys are still making the money. It's all about control, is what it is. They've made the units to whereas we want something, people are not going to make more than 100 blanks a year for selling purpose. They're not making it for selling purpose. They're making it to give away
Ah,
because it becomes expensive just to buy blanks and make a blank for your friend. But it's a hobby. It's not a business. So a little guy like me with a little record label, if I sell 5 or 10,000 units, I'm doing quite well. Well, I've been doing that for some time
mhm.
and staying away from the big guys and how I've survived
Yeah.
and still be able to chill out, you know, and still be able to play music and not have all the problems that most people have of staying healthy or being able to travel around the world and enjoy yourself and have a good time doing it. I'm doing that.
Mhm.
And I am enjoying it. I like meeting the people. I like being on both sides of the fence. So it's okay because I'm just being me. Well, the big guys are now looking at me. And it's a little scary, but I'm ready for that now.
Uh-huh.
I'm ready to say, okay, all right, Dad, take care of me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm ready now. I'm ready to accept the inevitable.
Uh-huh.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I had a little fun. Such was good, and I enjoyed myself. I'm ready to get in line and follow and do what you tell me to do.
Let me ask you about a couple. I mean, obviously, we can't talk about everybody you've played with, but the years you spent with Aretha, what was it like?
To me, it was great years.
Uh-huh.
I had more problems than a barrel of monkeys on the personal side,
Mhm.
but that's what I had to learn to live with. Aretha is one of the best performers in the world. Not great with business and personal life. She's had all kinds of problems. It affected me and everybody else around her. Tragic-wise, it's something that you have to deal with if you're going to deal with the person. Aretha, to me, has always been wonderful.
Mhm.
I love her, and for me, I love her from a distance. Because when I have to run, I'm going to be able to run and get away from her.
Mhm.
But that's something that personal and the business and the personal thing doesn't quite work hand in hand with her.
Mhm.
So you just have to know how to deal with it.
Right.
Steely Dan, I didn't have any problem. Steely Dan was one of the hardest groups in the world for me to work with. But I don't have that problem of working with people. I leave them alone. I go in, I do my job, and I leave.
Well, those guys are pretty controlling in the studio. Is that right? At
Oh,
least that's
yes.
what I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like anything else. You do your job, and that's all they want,
Uh-huh.
and it works. They'll allow you to do what you do.
And they didn't call you by accident, that's for sure. I mean, right?
That's right.
They wanted you in that seat.
But see, I didn't know, you go by the reputation of the things that you hear even before all these things happening. And for me, I said, oh, okay. It didn't matter. It didn't matter who the artist was as far as I'm concerned. An artist is an artist. You go in, you do your job, and you leave. Now, if you're lucky enough to socialize with them on the outside after the job is done, great, fine. But it is not a way of life. I enjoy the artists. I enjoy all the names. I enjoy all the unknown names. They pay me to come in to do a job. That's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do the job, and I'm going to get out of your way. Now, our paths cross further down the line. It's always going to be a very nice thing because it's going to be the same. Talking about bad or something? What am I going to talk about that's bad? What did we do that was so bad? I don't know all the problems that you have or such and such and such, but you didn't hurt me. And if you did hurt me, I'll leave you alone. It's that simple. I don't have to go and really go through all the changes of being hurt again.
Yeah.
When I know that you're going to hurt me. For what? For money? I can make money when I can't do anything else. I know how to make money. But I am good at what I do, which is what gives me the opportunity to make money. Hall & Oates, Simon and Garfunkel, Roberta Flack, Donny Hathaway, everybody. When I really look at the overall picture, I've had more fun than a barrel of monkeys. James Brown was a pain in the neck. When I had to do what I had to do to show my butt with him, I did it and it was over. You go in and you do your job.
Uh-huh.
But that's what it is for me. That's how I was taught. That was the thing that was instilled in me first. If you don't like it, don't accept it. You don't do the job. I had to tell Barry Manilow, you want Steve Gadd? I'll go call him. Hey, you don't take me through these changes that, well, you're now, we're big time now, Purdie, so no, I was there when you were nothing. Mm-hmm. I was there when you were doing demos. That's how far back I go with it. More power to you that you're the biggest cheese out here.
Uh-huh.
Wonderful. But like I said before, don't ask me to play like Steve Gadd. Because I am not Steve Gadd.
And he's not you.
Exactly. You want Steve, you call him. I'll be glad to call him for you. But, when I was coming along, I didn't know that that's the way it was.
Uh-huh.
You had to play like somebody else in order to do that. Well, I didn't. I played me. But I played and did the job. Now, I was fortunate enough to have enough in me to do the job plus. That's what I've done all my life. Mm-hmm. Do the job plus stick a little bit of me in.
Right.
And that's how I've done over all these years. I'm going to go in, I'm going to do the job. I'm going to play the music, and then I'm going to add a touch of Purdie. Now, I thought that's what you called me for. After all these years, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still doing the job. But I thought you wanted a little bit of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I do it, So if that means that I'm still arrogant, fine. I'm still arrogant. The point is that I'm there to do the job. I will always love Aretha. the Rolling Stones, Hall and Oates, Steely Dan. I'm always going to love them. B.B. King, like a father to me. The point is that they called me to do a job.
Right.
And I said, yes, I can do it. That's what I'm going to do. But I get along with everybody. And no matter who it is, Sissy, Whitney, doesn't matter. But that to me is part of life. That's why I'm in the position that I'm in. That's why I like everybody. That's why I can talk about everybody. But I always have something positive to say. Now, I could go and I could have made $1 million, they said, if I had to talk about all the bad things about Aretha while I was there.
Right.
For what?
Yeah.
That I'd never work.
Right. And you wouldn't feel good about yourself either.
Not only that, but I couldn't, nobody would hire me to play.
Yeah.
I said, no. Money, I can still earn a good living.
Uh-huh.
So, no. Can't go that route.
Yeah. Well, just to wrap up here, do you want to tell me how your nickname came about?
When I first came to New York, people could not pronounce my last name.
Oh.
They were calling me Bernard Purdie.
Oh.
And after 6 months, the Bernard got dropped, and it was Pretty Purdie.
Okay.
Pretty Purdie, come here. It was that kind of a thing. In the beginning, I took it wrong. But after a while, it just made sense. It was a good rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good rhythm. It was a good feel. And I liked it. I mean, I really and truly liked it. So it was given to me in 1961. I mean, I had it since then. Yeah. And it was something that it laid nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, when I finally was able to get my name back, it was close to the 80s. It was like I started in like 1977. I want my name back.
Right.
I want give me Bernard is my name, and people said, "Well, we know you as Pretty Purdie." I said, "Yeah, it's Bernard Pretty Purdie," and it's okay, that's fine as long as you keep the Purdie in because that's what we're selling. It was a selling point for me.
Sure.
So and it was cool, So, like I said, when I first came, they couldn't pronounce my last name, and it was Bernard Purdie. And then Pretty Purdie. Hey, Pretty Purdie. Yeah. Like that.
Yeah.
Catchy.
Right.
And, or some people would just say, hey, Pretty. I mean, that's somebody who really didn't know me. And somebody who's trying. Because somebody that would know me, he said, Purdie, would call me by my last name.
Okay.
So, after a while, everything was fine. And in the late 80s and 90s, it was just Bernard Purdie. I didn't have to worry one way or the other, but I decided to keep it because there were people who still knew me as Pretty Purdie. So I said, well, it's there. It's now permanent. It's Bernard Pretty Purdie. And that's why I use it, the whole thing.
Right. Well, I want to tell you it's been a real privilege to talk to you today.
Oh,
and I've enjoyed it
pleasure.
immensely. And I want to wish you the best on your book. And
I'm so happy. I really am. Yeah, it's nice.
Well, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.